This is Between the Uprights.
Football is life. The rest is just details.
Here are your hosts, Joe, Matt, and Chris.
So we already know the East-West Shrine Bowl has happened. It's happened Thursday. It's going to be going on. But you know what else happens this week, baby? The Reese Senior Bowl this Saturday, 2:30 Eastern time, down in Mobile, Alabama. Your boy's going to be on site, recording tape, checking out the prospects in the stadium there at South Alabama University. I will be there checking that out. But before we even get to the game, before I make the 5+ hour drive down to Mobile and get into my hotel and get ready for that game, we are going to preview for you the players to watch and look out for in the Reese Senior Bowl. And there is a plethora of them, so we couldn't get to them all, but these are our picks for the Reese Senior Bowl. But before I get to all of that, I want to ask you guys a question. Have you ever heard of Wilfrid Laurier University?
Wow.
Probably not. Probably not.
No.
Because it's a Canadian university.
Oh, no
Which
wonder.
means you
Yeah.
guys probably haven't heard of Taylor Elgersma. And if you haven't heard of Taylor Elgersma, allow me
Not Canadian, man.
to go ahead and tell you something real quick. This is the first college Canadian player to be invited to the Reese Senior Bowl in the history of the game. History of the game. Now, there's big differences between Canadian football and American football. Primarily, the field is 110 yards by 60 yards, and the end zones are 20 yards deep, and the field goal is within the first 5 yards of the goal line. Besides that, it's pretty much the same thing. Oh, did I mention that the wide receivers can start like 10 yards behind the line and run to the line of scrimmage before the ball is snapped as long as they don't cross the line of scrimmage?
That is so un-American. What is going on,
So fucking
man?
wild. But Taylor Elgersma gets his opportunity to showcase what he's got. Now, the guy threw for 4,000 yards, rushed for another, 600 yards, had 40 touchdowns and 10 interceptions in the Canadian college realm of football. How he adapts to the field is all going to come up there. But Jim Nagy, the guy who runs the Reese Senior Bowl and is in charge of the invites and all of those things, had a quarterback drop out, and Taylor Elgersma has been training in Birmingham. Getting some schooling there. He's gone to a couple all-star games and things like that, high prospect games that are not quite, on the level of the Reese Senior Bowl, usually free agent style things, but they want to invite him down. Now, this is a great story. I'm pulling for the kid. I'm not expecting otherworldly things, but when it comes to size, he's got it. He's 6'6". When it comes to weight, he's got it. He's 212 pounds. When it comes to an arm, it's a cannon. The guy can throw as far as you want him to throw, and he is mobile. He's got athleticism. He is big, he's got a cannon, and he's got all the intangibles for someone to develop him if he can be developed and learn the game. Granted, the windows to throw into will be smaller. He'll have to process the game faster because there isn't as much space out there. All of those things will come into play. Once again, if he balls out the Reese Senior Bowl, there is a solid chance he could get a combine invite, but I digress. We're not just here to talk about Taylor Elgersma, even though it is a great, great story. Great story. We're here to talk about our players that we are excited to see in the game outside of Taylor Elgersma and all of the greatness that is that, and congratulations to him. So I went ahead and held mine second to last. Let Sammy go in the East-West Shrine Bowl game. I want to go first this time. I'm going to go first. Fuck it. I'm doing it. I'm running this show.
What the hell did you just do if you didn't just go first?
I thought you went first already.
No. That was just a special shout.
This brother Elgersma or whatever his name is, he better go.
Taylor
Elgersma,
Elgersma was a special shout. An honorable mention, damn it.
He better be a baller when I watch that Senior Bowl. Let me tell you, Joe.
It's an honorable mention, damn it. Congratulations to him.
This man gets to go first twice. I've never seen it before in my life. Double first.
That's
crazy.
Before I let you guys go.
All right. Man.
So the guy I want to watch in this, and I've been kind of wishy-washy on him, but I'm expecting good things from him. I think he's going to perform. Jayden Higgins out of Iowa State. He's 6'4", 215. 1,070 yards on the season, 13.4 yards per reception, 9 TDs. Primarily an outside guy. 3/4 of his snaps came outside the hashes. 317 yak, 2 drops all year, 2.4%, 11 contested catches at a 55 conversion rate, and a 106 rating when targeted. That is pretty damn good. The issue I have with him is he oftentimes catches with his body. He doesn't really put his hands out. And as big as he is, he doesn't use his size effectively to high point the ball. I think he needs to kind of work on his high pointing the ball, really developing that skill set. But it did bring up a very interesting comp to a guy who I think also sort of struggles with that, but uses his body very effectively in route running. And that's Michael Pittman Jr. Michael Pittman Jr. is a large guy, 6'4", 223. They're very comparable in size. Played 75% of his snaps outside, had 3 drops all year, a 53 contested catch, conversion rate. And they really use their body and more than their speed and their short area quickness to get open and really catch the football. So those are kind of the intangibles that I see from Jayden Higgins. I think Jayden Higgins has that Michael Pittman ceiling in him to where that's the player he's going to be based on how he uses his body and his route running. Granted, that's not the greatest comp in the world, but Michael Pittman is still considered by most in the league to be a very solid number 1 wide receiver. I mean, he has been the number 1 in Indianapolis pretty much exclusively outside of, a couple deep passes to Pierce and things like that. He's the primary target. He's the guy that they focus on, and a lot of teams really kind of try to lock down because if Pittman gets going, bad things happen to your team. You can't let the Colts and Pittman get going. So I think that's where his comp really comes in. And people forget how good Pittman was before the injuries really started to set in, before, maybe age slowed him down a little bit. But that's where Jayden Higgins is right now, and that's what I see from him. And, hey, you know what? I could be wrong. I could be right. Hey, we'll find out. But that's who I'm really watching and going to be looking for here at the Reese Senior Bowl, in my mind, among some other players. But that's the one I wanted to focus on. So now I've gone first again. I'm going to go to the guy who went last time. And I'm going to go to Sammy, because I know Sammy's got someone outside of Jayden Higgins he's focusing on for the Reese Senior Bowl. So, Sammy, who is your guy to watch in the Reese Senior Bowl?
Jalen Milroe. What a year he had. And let me tell you, it was a bad one. 16 touchdowns, 11 picks. Don't look at your hands like that, Matt. I was going to get to that, damn it. My goodness. Look at him spoiling it, chat. Look at him spoiling it already. Okay, this man has small hands. Okay, let's just get it out of the way. He's got super small hands. And it was very evident when I saw his hand size. I couldn't believe it. I don't want to laugh at the guy. I don't want to laugh at him, but man, 8 inches. Yes, I have small hands, but we're normal people, Matt. Jalen Milroe was trying to make it big in the NFL. Okay, he already has money. Let's be honest, NIL, right, guys? Anyway, look, this past year it was rough. It was rough for the guy. Completion percentage wise, it wasn't terrible. 64%. It wasn't bad, right? But 16 touchdowns, 11 picks, 95 QB rating. Look, man, buddy. Not really good, not very good. But regardless, they were still in contention for the playoff. Now, let's stop talking about his hands, right? Because that's unfair, right, to Jalen Milroe. Let's stop talking about his hands. Let's talk about other things. He's 6'2". He's 225, right? His arm size is 31.5 or 2/8. It says right here anyway. He's a fast QB. That's my thing about Jalen Milroe. He's a very athletic, fast QB. He doesn't just use his speed necessarily. He also uses it to deceive other defenders, which lets him make some throws. Now, here's my thing about Jalen Milroe that has me very, very concerned, very, very concerned. He is not accurate at all, and we found out why. His hands are small. And it's very, very concerning if he wants to go in the first 3 in day 1 or 2 in the NFL. I mean, when you see his hand size immediately, like he's not a generational talent like Joe Burrow, right? Oh yeah, he has small hands, but he's still a genius, so it makes up for it. No, Jalen Milroe is got small hands and he's athletic, and as good as athleticism is, for the QB, not really exactly what you're looking for. So he's a very tough kid, though. I will say he's a very tough SOB. This guy has been in very big situations. He's very calm under pressure. And that is something that I think a lot of NFL teams are going to look at and say, hey, that's something we could use. On top of that, he's already been in a pro-style offense. So that is very, very convenient for NFL teams. They're going to bring in a QB, and he's going to not be confused by certain terms. He's not going to be, confuzzled by certain concepts at all. But I already mentioned his accuracy. But what's kind of bad, like this is where Jalen Milroe's kind of the wheels fall off on him as a prospect. He's very, very slow with his mental processing. Like he's very slow reading the field. Sometimes he even bails out of clean pockets because, I'm going to run it. I see a lane. Let me go run it, when he should just let a play develop and let's see if we can get something like that doesn't get him hurt. And with that, I'm going to give you guys my comp, and this is a very unfortunate comp. I do think it's pretty accurate until I see any improvement. Joshua Dobbs. I really don't see, this is very, very harsh for me, but I really don't see any, in terms of arm talent, he's got the arm talent. He's got a bit of arm talent, but he's not very accurate. He bails on pockets. His feet are kind of twitchy. It's very hard for me to buy into Jalen Milroe as a thrower of the football. And unlike some QBs that are athletic in the past, he's shown, he doesn't really show enough flashes for me personally to really prove that he's worthy of a first-round pick at all, and might not even be a second or third-round pick either. This is Jalen Milroe. Look, maybe some QBs will take a swing on him on the second or third just because of his athletic traits, for sure. But as a QB prospect, this is a big Reese Senior Bowl for Jalen Milroe, because I do believe that he needs an invite to the combine. He's gonna need to 1,000% show up in the bowl. He's gonna need to show up at the combine to really raise his stock. It's at a low already because of his very, very small and tiny hands. But now it's all about, don't laugh, Joe, you're going to make me laugh. Now it's all about essentially proving those haters wrong and really showing that the hand size does not really matter.
I read an article earlier today where it was someone had screenshot what they were saying on Twitter about Jalen Milroe's hands, and it was 8-inch hands, better start running routes, buddy.
That was messed up. I saw that tweet. That tweet was diabolical. I didn't like that whatsoever, man.
Oh man, I lost it. I lost it on
Poor
that
guy,
one. But
man.
yeah, it's true. I think that if you're talking about who has the most to prove in this Senior Bowl in this offseason, really improve their draft, it's Jalen Milroe. I mean, the guy was, obviously Alabama's big name, and we've kind of seen that Alabama quarterbacks don't really ever do anything in the NFL outside of Tua. Tua is the best Alabama quarterback pretty much ever in the NFL, if you really want to get down to it. I mean, that's kind of what he is. So Jalen Milroe's got, everything to prove, and realistically, the hands thing's just another, it's like icing on the cake of a really bad cake. But I'm going to go to Chris on this one. Chris, you've heard my takes. You've heard Sam's takes. Who are you most excited to see in this Reese Senior Bowl this Saturday?
Man. So the person that I'm looking at, because we're talking a lot about offense, right? Like quarterbacks, wide receivers. So there's some. This is just as of recently that I really started paying attention to. I think for a lot of us, it's all right, now that the season's over, the playoffs are pretty much done. We know what the ending's going to be. So now you start looking into the draft, right? So like I said, we've talked a lot about the wide receivers, talked about a lot about the quarterbacks. So I'm going to go on the other side of the ball, because there is somebody who I feel like deserves a little bit of look. He has a little bit of an aura about him. And I think now he's starting, from the stuff that I've started looking up, it looks like he's finally starting to raise to people's kind of understanding. And that is Mike Green out of Marshall, as a defensive end, edge player, edge rusher. Just this year alone, he had 17 sacks, which I think was the highest in his area. 3 forced fumbles. He has 81 tackles, 38 of them on his own. So he's just a killer when it comes to getting through the O line and getting to the quarterback. And I think that to me is huge when we start looking back at everything we've seen in the playoffs and the middle of the season. You see how much it matters. I know we joke around, and I know I've said a couple things funny enough, it doesn't matter. Fuck the defense. They have Josh Allen. It doesn't matter. It does matter. In all essence, it was more than likely a joke. But it does matter that because everybody's going to need someone who can push your quarterback out of the pocket, make them uncomfortable. That's really the only way that you start continuously winning games is your defense has to show up. And in order to show up, you're going to need an edge rusher. You're going to need somebody to put your O-line in uncomfortable situations. So I'm looking at Mike Green right now. I think he's a great prospect right now. They have him currently listed as like first round, into the first round, open to the second round. But what I feel like and this is why I'm so excited to see him in this bowl game is to up his stock. Cause I want him to almost if he does what was done last year, I feel like he could be maybe better than the Brandon Fisk type of era, what he did last year in the bowl. I think he just took over the game, and that's kind of what I expect from everything that I've seen. Like his comp right now, the biggest comp that I see for him is actually the big running back, or not running back, why did I say running back, out of the Rams. And so his comp is Jared Verse. So I think he could definitely meet that comp. So I think one of the biggest takeaways from him right now is there was a concern about his weight. They say he's 6'4", he's 248. I feel like he's kind of small. But from everything that I've started looking up the last several days, they're saying basically that it does look like he has gone up in weight. So there was a concern today. I watched some of the training from today off the NFL Plus. And it does look like he has upped his weight, and it seems like he's carrying it very well, which was a concern coming into that training, is if he would be able to kind of balance that. So it looks like he's done that. He has advanced pass rush arsenal. It's he's fantastic as far as like violent hand swipes, swim moves, counter spin moves. So he has a natural hip flexibility and ankle mobility to kind of run tight corners and redirect in space. And I really feel like if he can come out into this game and kind of take that game over, make the young offensive line under duress, make the quarterback under duress, I think he really gives himself a chance to move himself up. Because as of right now, out of Daniel Jeremiah, he just came out with his first mock draft of the 2025 draft, and he had him going to the Lions. Yikes for all of us, at 28 overall. Yeah, if he goes to the Lions, I'm gonna fucking riot. That's a but I feel like if he can go out and he can show out, then you're looking at he could possibly go to a team like Atlanta, right? Who actually had the second worst sack rate, and they have the 16th overall pick. Or you could look at the Dolphins, who are sixth worst in their sack rate, and they have the 13th overall pick. Now, do they want to pull them at that point? Maybe, because everybody's going to need someone on that side of the ball that's going to be able to rush the O-line. So that's really what I'm looking forward to. I know there's a lot of prospects. I know the defensive side is supposed to be fairly equipped this year. About the only part of the draft that seems to be heavy. But I am looking forward to seeing what Mike Green does on the field and what he's going to bring to the Senior Bowl.
Hey, I'm just glad someone picked a defensive player. I mean, come on, that's what I'm talking about. Offense
can always be offense.
Yeah, we talk offense so often. And it's an offense-dominated league now. I mean, the defense is handcuffed in so many ways that even if you're a stalwart on the defensive side of the ball, you're almost playing with both your hands tied behind your back. So to have a defensive breakdown and get a player like that you want to watch and be interested in, I think that's very, very important. That's going to be a highlight of this video, in my opinion. But we have one more guy. We have one more person. One more. He's going to give his top player to watch at the Reese Senior Bowl, and that is Matt. Matt, who should we look out for? The Reese Senior Bowl this Saturday.
Joe, in the previous video about the East-West Shrine Bowl, you were talking about the guy who won the triple crown for receivers in Nick Nash. Well, I'm talking about the guy who won not quite the triple crown, but almost won the triple crown as far as the entire nation goes in catches, receiving yards. Didn't quite get it in touchdowns, but he led the nation with 117 catches and 1,555 receiving yards. We're talking about Harold Fannin Jr. from Bowling Green. Now, 6'4", 230. He might be 6'3", 230. He's an undersized tight end. He's not a true inline tight end. He's going to be more of a slot pass-catching tight end. But this dude, just like most great tight ends are, this is like the cliche thing that you say for all tight ends, they're a bad matchup for the entire defense. They're a defense's nightmare. He's too big for corners and safeties, and he's way too quick and way too fast for linebackers. He is extremely versatile. I don't know how many of you guys out there are watching Bowling Green tape this year, but for those of you who were, okay, they used him in the backfield. They used him at H-back. They used him outside. They used him in the slot. They used him in bunch and stack sets. They used him literally every way that you can use a versatile weapon. And that's exactly what Harold Fannin Jr. is. He is a versatile weapon that if some good offensive mind gets a hold of him, he's going to be a valuable piece to an offense. And he's got really, really good hands. He's great in zone and off-man coverage as well. If you give him space, he's going to make a lot of plays. You see his film in college. A lot of the plays he makes, he's in space. He's doing his thing. He's getting, whether it be reverses, whether it be just quick throws, he's doing his thing in space a lot of the time. He's not going to be a great blocker. He's not going to be like a traditional like Rob Gronkowski inline tight end where he mauls you in the running game and he dominates that way in the pass game. And he's going to have to be playing more slot in the tight end because he can get stymied in press coverage at times. He needs to expand his release package as well. His release is kind of stale, and he does the same release over and over again. So he's going to have to vary up his release packages as well. But this guy, I'm telling you, when you watch him play, he's a dominant player. He can go down the seam. He's a vertical threat. Like I said, you can throw him screens. He'll do damage in space. He'll do damage however you want a tight end to do damage in the receiving game. And one of the other top tight ends in the draft, Tyler Warren out of Penn State, they played this year, and he went toe-to-toe with Tyler Warren in Penn State. Fannin versus Penn State this year, 11 catches for 137 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Warren had 8 grabs for 146 yards in that game. So, and that was a game too. Penn State, we just saw Penn State go to the Final Four in the CFP. Bowling Green was right there in it with Penn State. It was 34-27. That was a close game in the second half as well. So, again, Harold Fannin showed out against one of the best teams in the country, and I think that's going to be a very, very a good sign for him in the future because, like I said, this guy, he profiles perfectly to be a professional tight end now. You don't ask your tight ends now. It's not the 80s anymore. You're not always asking your tight ends to be a dominant run blocker. We don't see Travis Kelce block very well in the run game. There's a bunch of other tight ends where it's like they're not the best run blocker. But if you can go out there and catch balls, if you can go out there and make plays, especially in today's NFL, that's going to be a super valuable weapon. So I think Harold Fannin Jr. is going to be very, very valuable to some NFL team. And like I said, you get him with a creative play caller who can expand his game a little bit, and he can be a little bit better versus man coverage, press man coverage. I think we're going to see the best out of Harold Fannin Jr. So some comps that I liked. Trey McBride was a comp that I really, really liked. We just saw Trey McBride have a really, really nice year this year with the Cardinals. He was one of arguably behind Brock Bowers, maybe the best tight end in the NFL this year. And then another comp I like too, this one's probably better, is Isaiah Likely. Now, Isaiah Likely is somebody where if you watch him play, if he was in more of a pass-heavy offense, you'd be like, man, Isaiah Likely is one of the best tight ends in the NFL. And obviously he's a little bit kind of pushed down in the depth chart behind Mark Andrews, where maybe he won't be after this offseason because apparently they're trying to trade Mark Andrews. Makes sense after he dropped a couple of those balls in the AFC divisional game. But anyways, I think definitely this guy could be an Isaiah Likely type where you see when Isaiah Likely's on the field, he's a super vertical threat. He's an explosive playmaker. And I think Harold Fannin Jr. could do the same for some offense in the NFL. So I'm really excited to watch Harold Fannin Jr. Even though he already proved it against high level college competition, I'm excited to see him do it even more and prove to some NFL teams that he's worthy of a top 3 round pick, maybe a second or a late first.
Yeah, I mean, the tight ends that we have seen come out recently, there have been a lot of really good tight ends that we've seen come into the NFL. I mean, we have Sam Laporta to talk about, Brock Bowers to talk about, and it just seems like it's always one or two of these guys that come out and they're just absolutely ballers all the time. And like you said, the tight end position has evolved to be more pass and reception heavy. There's not a lot of teams carry a third lineman that they bring in for jumbo packages, and even those guys run some routes occasionally, as we've seen the Detroit Lions do this year. But if you've learned anything from this video, similar to our East-West Shrine Bowl video, you will know that there's a plethora of players to go watch at the Reese Senior Bowl. And like I said, I will be on site in the stands with the rest of the fans, watching these guys go toe-to-toe in person on Saturday at 2:30 Eastern Time. I'll be there. You've got to check out the Reese Senior Bowl.
This has been Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details.